The fourth chart that I want to look at today is Immutable. So Immutable is an L2 on top of Ethereum, and it is a gaming L2. So it's focused solely on gaming. It has over 200 games currently, many of which are high quality AAA games, and many are like mobile games. There's many different types. Now, some of them have launched, not all of them. I would say most of them have not launched, but they're beginning to launch this year or over the next, let's say, 9 to 12 months kind of thing. Illuvium, which is probably the biggest and the most highest profile of them all, has just launched on Epic Games recently in beta, but the full launch will be coming soon. This one is expected to be a pretty big game. They have been building for a long time. They have, I think, over hundreds of millions backing it. It's a pretty big deal. The reason why I talk about Immutable here is, one, you could think of Immutable as almost an ETF for the gaming world. Look, there are games on Solana, there are games on Ronin, there are games on Polygon, etc., but there is no platform like Immutable. The reason that Immutable is differentiated from everyone else is that there's no gas fees on Immutable. So Immutable has this very different business model where they actually pay for the gas fees for all the apps and all the users. And so when you use Immutable, you don't ever have to think about gas fees. You don't need to fund your wallet to pay for gas fees. It doesn't exist. You also don't need things like a MetaMask wallet or a Phantom wallet like you would on other chains. You use a thing called Passport, which connects you in with all the games on Immutable. And it's a very Web 2-like experience. You sign up with email. You can pay for things with credit card. You don't really need to know about, you don't even have to actually integrate or use crypto at all to be on Immutable and to play these games. So it's on a whole nother level than everything else. Even like I'm a big fan of Solana, and everyone's like, oh, Solana's the best and it's so cheap and it's fast. Gamers are going to want to be there. And it's like, look, even if you're like a fraction of a penny in fees or a fraction of a penny, it doesn't matter because this is free. And so the difference is just in terms of UX, it's not even a comparison. And you can't do that on something like Solana unless you have an L2. So this is one of the reasons that I think people are missing why L2s are so important, is you can create an experience like this. Now, how does Immutable do this? This is sustainable. It is. It's because they take, I think it's 2% off of every trade or every transaction that happens on Immutable. So there's no gas, but they just take 1% of every transaction, and then they take that revenue and they pay for the gas fees on Ethereum. Now, the big catalyst, I think, for Immutable, other than a bunch of games launching over the next few months, which is going to be huge as their volume, transactions, and users pick up, that's just going to be so big for the revenues. But the other side of it is their expenses are about to get slashed by an order of magnitude. Q1 of 2024, EIP 4844 goes live, which will reduce the cost to transact on Ethereum for L2s by about an order of magnitude. And so the expenses of Immutable is about to go down big time, while the revenues are also about to go up big time. And then it's also, if you hold IMX and you stake it, you can generate yield from it. So they've just got just about everything figured out. And again, it has the same pattern as Coinbase, very similar with an inverse head and shoulders. And so same thing, there's potential for, it hasn't broken out yet though. Coinbase has, IMX has not. It's currently fighting resistance on that neckline that I talked about. But if it does break, we're looking at IMX going from currently at 1.43 going up to above $5 for one IMX. So pretty big jump. That could happen pretty quickly. The only thing I would say is when you look at this, and I know, by the way, Web3 gaming is kind of a meme at this point in this industry. Is it really ever going to take off? I do think it will. I just think it's taken a while for the technology to get there. And I think no tech has done better than what Immutable has done for gaming. And so I think this cycle will finally be the first one that this will all happen and play out. And I think it's going to be really, really exciting. But the one thing to look at here is this is the price chart. This is a really important lesson for any token in crypto, especially the smaller cap ones. So the market cap of Immutable is like 1.7 billion. So it's pretty small, but not that small. Either way, the thing to keep in mind here is that if we look at market cap, it's already at all-time highs. So what the first chart I'm showing here is price, where this inverse head and shoulders, it's way below all-time highs. But that's because over the last 2 years, Immutable has been giving out tokens to games. That's how they fund their grants to actually get games to build on top of Immutable. They don't have to do that so much now because, I mean, they just have the best technology. And so people want to build there, but they still are funding a ton. And so you have token unlocks. And so they've had a ton of token unlocks, which is part of a good thing for the token, right? You have less new supply coming out, although there still is some, there's still token unlocks, just less than there was then. But as a result, the market cap gets more and more as more tokens get put onto the market. And so even though price is not back at all-time highs, the market cap is actually past all-time highs. So I think it's fine. In a bull market, it's very likely that this market cap goes much higher than 1.8 billion right now. I think we go much higher than this. I mean, for example, Axie Infinity, just one game, it reached a $40 billion market cap last cycle. Now, that was in a speculative mania. The people playing that wasn't sustainable. The fees that Ronin or that AXS, Axie Infinity, was making during that game was unsustainable. And so the market cap was definitely an unsustainable market cap for that game. But let's say Immutable gets a few of those games, 2 of those games this cycle, 3, 4, whatever, and a bunch of smaller games. I mean, there's just so much potential activity and so much potential volume, which means so much potential revenue for IMX and Immutable to make, which thus then goes back to the IMX holders. I just think that there's so much room for growth for Immutable if Web3 gaming takes off, which I do think it will. So I could see this being a 10, 20, 30 plus billion market cap this cycle, no problem, to be honest. So I do think this is one of the tokens that I'm most excited about. And it's just an easy way to play Web3 gaming. It is very tough to go and find the game that's going to make it and break out. Sure, you could go put some in Illuvium, you could put some in Star Atlas on Solana, you can put some in whatever game you want, but the chances of choosing a specific game that's going to really take off and blow up, it's pretty slim. So this is sort of your ETF for Web3 gaming is the way I see it. And of course, I don't like to go too far down the risk curve. That's why I like Coinbase. That's why I like Immutable. That's why I like ETH. These are all sort of like low risk plays on a specific sector. Ethereum is just basically Web3 in general. Same with Solana. Coinbase is the whole space. And then IMX is Web3 gaming. So that's generally how I like to play things because it's just much easier. Thank you for listening to Web3 Academy, your one trusted source to capitalize on the next big phase of the internet. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it and subscribe or follow so that you don't miss the next one. While you're at it, there's a link in the description for our free newsletter where we provide timely and relevant Web3 insights so you can confidently build and invest in Web3. Make sure to subscribe today. One final note. This podcast is for educational purposes only, and nothing we say is financial advice. Crypto and Web3 are risky, and you should never invest more than you're willing to lose. Thank you, friends, and see you in the next one.